Yeah, got a very special guest today. Could you do me a favor and introduce yourself?
Yeah, what's up, y'all? My name's Danny Murillo. I'm a formerly incarcerated person. I'm also someone that's been gang labeled. I'm from the city of Norwalk, one ways. That's where I grew up. But I'm also an alumni of the University of California, Berkeley, and a current graduate student at Cal State Long Beach and the Masters of Education program.
Dope, dope. So you're going for your masters. That's what's up, man. And so be now it's crazy because you said you're formerly incarcerated youth, and now you're going for your masters. There had to be a crazy story in between that, right? Because like those two
Yeah.
aren't something that's very typical of going together, right? So let's start from the beginning.
But I will say that the only time that those two things go together is
Mhm.
when the people at the university are studying the people that are in the streets or in prison.
Ah,
And what
yeah.
we're doing now is changing that. We're now with people with that experience are doing the studying.
Dope. Hell yeah. So let's start from the beginning. What was it that drew you to a life that led you to incarceration?
Wow. Okay, that's like an origin story, right? Like where did it? What
Yeah,
happened? Where did it start?
like why? Because everybody, because I've had so many interviews and everybody has a different reason why it's crazy. Some people because of abuse, some people because of neglect, some people just
Yeah,
because mom and dad worked all day, they didn't know what to do. I mean, they felt alienated and this. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different things, and I just, for me, I'm always fascinated by like why, what was it? You know what I mean? That led you to that lifestyle.
for sure. And I think well, off the top, right? I grew up. I'm a child of the '80s, right? So I'm born in '79. So in the '80s, I'm the first one born here in the U.S. I have a brother and a sister who were born in Tijuana, like maybe 2 years apart from each other. But we all kind of grew up around the same age.
Yeah,
Um, we grew up in the one ways. In the '80s, I remember my recollection of like memories of a lot of drug use, right? Like I didn't there was a lot of I didn't know what PCP was or heroin was, but I just know people were on it.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
In the '80s and shit, right? And at home I mean, we had enough. We had more than enough, right? Like my dad came over here and fucking worked his ass off, and he gave us more than we needed, right? And we had like the material stuff, right? The material
mhm.
stuff was there. Like in 1986, the first one on our block was Nintendo.
Oh, dope.
We had a microwave, we had a VCR, we had a fucking video cam recorder, right?
Yeah,
While my neighbors were fucking collecting government cheese over at the social services,
yeah,
right? And we were me and my brother were literally eating cheesecake while others were eating fucking government cheese, right?
damn, yeah,
But there was also and we had the material stuff, but we just never had the love. We just there was no love at the house, right? It was just my dad was one of those Mexican hardworking dude, show no emotion, right? And but he liked to drink. I mean, he liked to fucking party. I mean, and so we had things, right, but we just never had that unconditional love at home. And there was a lot of, we experienced a lot of violence growing
yeah,
up until the age of about like maybe when me and my brother turned into teenagers. That's kind of when it stopped because we demanded that it fucking stop.
yeah,
Like as little mocoso, like you could only do so much and get fucking tossed to the side, right?
yeah,
We got to a point where we were a teenager, like that shit didn't stop. You know what I mean? If not, then we're gonna deal with you. And it
yeah,
did, you know what I mean? But at that point, it was like we were already in the streets. You know what I mean? Like we were already, but even before getting to the streets, bro, I remember always trying to negotiate myself. Like, I'm just gonna play baseball. As long as I play baseball, I won't get caught up in the streets. I mean,
yeah.
like I seen my first dead body when I was like 9 or 10,
Damn.
right? And that was the homie Dreamer from out of Norwalk. Rest in peace. In '89, I knew him because he was a little older, but we were both like on the same soccer leagues. Like
Yeah,
my homeboy's dad used to coach a soccer team for like different ages, and I was like
yeah,
8, 9 years old on that. I'm one of the youngest team, so I would see like there was a lot of my homies that would be on those soccer teams, so I would kind of know them. But it turns out my dad knew his dad, so we went
mhm,
to the funeral, and I remember going to the casket, bro, and telling myself like I don't want to be a cholo.
yeah,
Like I'm looking at fucking Dreamer in his casket and times I'm like, I don't want to be that. So like I did everything I possibly could to kind of steer away from the streets, and baseball was that thing, right?
yeah,
And then it got and then it, and it got to a point where I lost that. I lost that baseball because um I went to high school and they weren't letting me play baseball because of my grades or whatever. And so we just kind of fell into the crowd. It wasn't the bad crowd. I mean, these were all my friends.
Yeah.
These were all people that I grew up with in elementary, junior high. You know what I mean? And yeah, granted, some of them came from homes where, you know, mom's dad was already in prison, fucking hooked on carga, fucking, you know, whatever, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Out there boosting and shit, you know? But they were good kids, and we just, you know, there was really nothing to do, homie. And we first got into the tagging,
Yeah.
right? When we first went to high school. A lot of us were all related to homies, right? Like my brother and my sister were kind of already making their way into like being part of the barrio, but we didn't have that like historical connection like other homies that their grandpa was from the barrio, from the Chicos and the alligators back in the days, and the enanos, and you know, all these different clicas like from the 60s and the 70s. So I have friends that were like that, right? So it was very easy to kind of like, you know, people already knew me because association with, you know, people's, you know, little brothers or whatever. And once the kind of the tagging lost its phase and got kind of like, at some point it kind of started getting like mixed up with like, it kind of became almost like gang banging and shit, you know?
Yeah.
And when at that point, like we just got recruited into the barrio and shit, you know? And even then, like in 93, I was always negotiating like, how much am I willing to do? Like, oh, I'm willing to participate in G rides and shit like that, but I'm not gonna go gang banging.
Yeah.
But I wasn't telling that to nobody. I wasn't telling that to nobody. I was telling that shit to myself in the head, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to go to life in prison. Fuck that. But after a while, homie, like by the age of 15, I was like, fuck it. It is what it is, homie. Let's fucking do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that's probably when they killed my homeboy Smiley in 95, right? When I was like, fuck it. You mean like I went to go visit my homie in the hospital. He had got shot like 15 times. He survived. He got shot like 15 times with an AK and he survived. And when I seen him, I'm like, man, fuck this shit. We pushing this shit. We pushing the gas pedal. And after that, from that moment, I lasted on the streets about like another 9 months. And I ended up getting incarcerated for a carjacking, a house invasion, carjacking, kidnapping, house invasion, and an armed robbery.
Damn. And how old were you at that time again?
I just turned 16.
Oh, that's like the cutoff too. So you
that was 95, 96. That's when like everybody was like, you know, try it as a dog.
Yeah. I was gonna say because back then, 16 was when you fought your fitness, and that's when you see if you could be tried as an adult. If you would have committed it, let's say at 15, you would have went to YA. At 14, you would have went to YA. But now, so did you have to go through that fitness trial? Like how was that?
Yeah. So my thing was I got busted in March of 96, and I fought my fitness for 9 months. Damn. But I was trying to like I fucked myself off, right? Like I was literally trying to lose the fitness because I wanted to go to adult court
for the jury.
Because I thought that we were gonna beat it in adult court.
Yeah.
Right. Like I was like, this dude's not gonna show up to court, right? Like, how the fuck is somebody who's a fucking, you know, selling big dope gonna show up talking about, hey, these fucking fools kidnapped me, robbed me from my dope, took my guns, you know. But none of that came up in court though, right?
Yeah.
None of that came up in court, right?
Just the fact that you kidnapped them, not what for, none of that.
And then the people who I did it with though, right? Like two of my homies, fucking YA babies, and my other homie I just got out, he did like 6 years or 5 years in the joint for a gang-related shooting, right? Yeah. So the dudes that I was running around with when I was 16 years old, combined, they probably already had at least 10 to 15 years of incarceration.
Damn.
You know what I mean? And all on parole. You know what I mean? 2 on YA parole and the other one on joint parole, right?
Yeah.
And so because of that, also that kind of, you know, made me look bad with the judge. Like, you know, you're running around with these dudes and shit.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. So I lost my fitness. I lost my fitness thinking that we were going to beat it. Mm-hmm. When I finally met up with my homies at Norwalk court, they had just got a fucking a mistrial.
Oh, right? Shit.
Somebody on that jury was like, I know these dudes might be fucking cholos and gangbangers, but this motherfucker lying.
Yeah.
The dude that was taking the stand, he's lying about something.
Yeah.
Like, he ain't fucking cookie clean cutter motherfucker either. I mean, yeah. And so they had just got a mistrial. I caught up with them. And we're like, okay, cool, we're gonna beat this. And you know, sure enough, the DA wasn't budging, homie. Like the DA wasn't budging until the very end. He was like, look, man, this is the end, man. Like, we're gonna offer you a 15-year deal for me and my 2 homies that had been to YA, and my homie that was had been to the joint. They told him he had to take a 25 to life for a third strike. That was the deal, right? The deal, me. 2 of the homies that went to YA, or you know, the 2 other homies that haven't been to the joint, you know, they don't have no adult convictions, right? And they went like at 13, 14 to YA and shit, you know? So they're telling you guys get 15 each with 2 strikes.
Damn.
But homeboy got to take a L with that 3rd strike. And, you know, fucking homeboy took it, dog.
Damn.
My homeboy took, you know, and he didn't have to, right? Because you already know, like, you know, in a situation like that, you're like, fuck that. We going to the box, homie.
Yeah, yeah.
We going to the box. Like, what do I look like taking a life sentence, homie? I might as well just take it to the box and take my chances.
How old was he?
24.
24. That's young.
Yeah, and so right now we're hopeful, homie, especially with this new district attorney, Greg Gascon, who's implementing some new policies in LA County regarding people that have been sentenced to long-term sentences for anything like, you know, we didn't kill nobody, right?
Yeah.
So like ultimately, you know, he might have a chance, homie. So we're hopeful for that. I mean, I'm trying to figure out a way how to support him in that, you know?
Yeah.
But a lot of people are coming home though, you know what I mean? I'm sure you probably know that. You mean,
oh yeah,
260, SB 261, you know, Prop 57, Prop 47 made it possible for a lot of people that we never thought, homie, that we're gonna come home to be able to come home, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. And it's crazy because a lot of them are, that's people don't understand. People always say they try to throw that propaganda out there where if you let them out, crime's gonna go up. But most of the people I've seen, I know it's just anecdotal evidence, but most of the people that I've seen come out, they've been doing well. They ain't trying to go back. You know what I mean? Like they said they're fucking grown already, and they're like, at a certain age, you just can't go back and hit the streets like you're a young man again. It's like so
Right.
these guys,
and also it's definitely my experience. The longer someone done time, homie, the more likely that, and I haven't really seen that, right? Like they're gonna come out and just, you know, do their thing and shit. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But it's also even for young people, right? It's the resources and the opportunities that you make available for them, homie, that will give them the opportunity to change after incarceration or even before incarceration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Damn. So your homie gets the life, takes the life deal. You get 15 years. You and your other boys get 15 years. You're what, 16, 17 at this time?
Yeah. I turned 18 on the day I go to the joint to Wasco State Prison. But I went to YA. I was, once I got that life, once I got that 15-year, bro, I was like, fuck that. I want to go to YA. I should have stayed in, I should have won my fitness, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Cause like like, dude, you would have stayed there till you're 25. And all my homies were telling me that. All my homies were, a lot of my homies that did YA time, they're like, Danny, just stay in fucking juvenile court for you'll get out when you're 25. I wasn't like, fuck that. We're about to beat this shit, homie.
Yeah.
Like, why am I fucking staying in YA for fucking till I'm 25? We can beat this.
Yeah.
But like, you mean, sure enough, like, you know, we didn't know. And so once I took that deal, like I started telling my lawyer, like, man, see if the judge will let me go to YA. See if the judge will let me go YA. So they agreed to send me on a 90-day op.
Yeah.
Right. I went on a 90-day op and tried a program and went back, and they just said, nah, Charlotte, we're gonna send you to the joint.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're 17. Like, where do they house you at? After you, because I know after you get sentenced, you leave Central, right? And you have to go to where do they take you at? Like right when you get sentenced as a 17-year-old.
So right. Before, a little after my 17th birthday, I got kicked out to the LA County jail from juvenile hall. I first started in LP, right? You know, I'm from Norwalk, so we all go to LP, the southeast area, and then from there,
once you lose your fitness, you go to Central.
I went to Central, yeah, and I was in KL, right? KL.
Yeah.
That place was lit, bro.
Oh yeah, I remember I was in M&N.
KL was the shit.
M&N and K now were just nuts.
Yeah. Like, you know, and then so then you know, messing up and shit, man. I was trying to get weed and shit, trying to get my sister to send me weed in juvenile hall. I ended up getting kicked out to the county jail, and they put it in the juvenile module. 37. Well, back then it used to be 3,700 juvenile module on the 3,000 floor, and we had 2 tiers. We had Baker and Denver 3,700, and I was there, you know, for probably like almost like a year. But in between that time, I did that 90-day op. You know, got kicked out of Central, went to LA County jail, still fighting my case, took the deal, went to Norwalk for the 90-day op, went back to the juvenile module, and then on my 18th birthday, I got kicked out to Wasco.
Damn. How was it in that juvenile module? Because I know like when you're young, you're aggressive, you're angry, you don't know how to deal with things. Yeah. So how was it in there? Like, was there a gang of fights? Do you have motherfuckers facing a gang of time too? You mean they lost their fitness, so they know they're either going home or they're going to the joint, right?
So yeah, no, definitely. But it's also the county jail, right? So the program, right? And people are kind of like, you know, making us fall in line into that program. Like, okay, now you're all homies and shit, you know? Even though you're still there you might be there with your enemiga, but after that, like, you know, you might not even talk to them, but you don't have to, but you can't be, you know, fucking getting off on your, especially, you know, homie on homie kind of thing, right? But with the black and brown, homie, it was off the hook, dog.
Damn.
Like we fucking like, yeah, homie, like it was off the hook. But luckily, I don't know what it was, homie, but at one point, like we just all agree, like, yo, let's just fucking figure out a way just to kind of, you know, if you want to get them up, we'll get them up, but it doesn't have to be like we're always talking shit to each other and like somebody walks out, you're fucking possibly throwing shit at somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and like we kind of cooled that, we cooled that down, and then it got to a point where we're just all programming. By the time I left, we were all programming. We're like, you know, if the Huda had cracked the door of a black youth and a homie youth, like they were cool. Like, I'm gonna go use a phone. Wow, I'm gonna go use a phone too. Like, you know? Yeah. And that was cool, right? Because we realized that once you get to prison, it's not like how it was in the beginning.
Yeah.
You automatically think, oh yeah, when you get to prison, it's on. And like, no, actually it's not, dog. Homies just want to program. But sometimes people act fucking stupid and they need to get dealt with. But for the most part, homies want to program.
Yeah, that's what they're living. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah, bro, I got to high desert, man. My first year there was lockdown after lockdown. And it was just homies though. Homies, you know, taking care of business.
Yeah.
And it's like always on lockdown.
Damn. So let me ask you about that. You're 18 years old. You get to the joint. Like it's your 18. Like that's the earliest you could get there, right? Basically, as an adult.
No, actually, no, bro. Nah. My first Sally in high desert state prison was a whole year younger than me when I got there.
Oh shit.
And he already had been there when he was 16, dog.
Damn.
The homie Little Red from New Wall Street, Huntington Park, dog. He's still busted right now, dog. And I get at him and shit. I'm trying to help him, trying to, you know, he's trying to do what he can to go to board and shit. He just got denied. But yeah, man, he's been there since he was fucking 14, dog, fighting his case, went to the joint at 15, and he's still busted, homie.
Damn.
Yeah, but yeah, but what they after a while, what they implemented in Tehachapi, they implemented a yard where it was just for anybody that was 18 and younger.
Yeah.
Right. And that was probably like in 2002, 2001, they implemented that yard for people that were 18 and younger, but were already CDC numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I had one of my boys told me he had hit the joint at 17, but they made it so that he had to be in a single cell. Like he couldn't have nobody in there with him. And when he got to the yard, because he's tall, he's about 6'4". So he got to the yard, they're like, "Hey, homie, what the fuck? What's going on there?" Yeah, and he just told her like, I'm a juvenile, and they just tripped out. You're a big ass youngster, you know what I mean? Because you see somebody 6'4", you think you're like, yeah. But fucking, so you get, well, what's your mindset when you get in there? Because I know like it's different when you're young, like, but you do have to like fall. You know what I mean like you have to go with any kind of direction that it's happening with any elders, just like in any society, right? So fucking, how is it as a youngster like wanting to be like active and having all that adrenaline and but having to contain it at certain points?
Right. You know what was funny though, when I first pulled up to Wasco, you know, I remember I pulled up with the homie from Northside Bowling, and you know, we're both on the bus, and I introduced myself, and he knows me already, like without even ever meeting him.
Yeah.
Told me I'm you know, Norwalk, you know, turf from Norwalk. Oh, you're crime with so and so. Yeah, I know who you are. And so that kind of that's right. You know who I am now. So at least somebody knows me and shit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And like, but he never met me though. But he just knew me because of my crime. He did time with them in I think Ironwood or something. And we pull up. I'm thinking it's gonna be like that. I'm, you know, pull up with a bunch of fucking homies. They sent me to a fucking building with just a bunch of parole violators, homies. So like I'm like, God damn, I'm the only one here with 15 years. Everybody going home. Like ain't nobody was really, you know, like on that active mindset and shit, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. They're short
I
time.
thought I was like, I'm about to hit the yard. We're about to, you know, kick with the
Yeah.
homies. And like, no, we just gonna play basketball and shit and work out and shit, you know, just kicking and shit, you know. So like that was Wasco. So I was there for 2 months, and then I cast the chain to High Desert, homie. And when I get to High Desert, that's when I'm like, oh shit, I'm in fucking prison, bro.
Yeah.
We get to High Desert. It's February of 1998. Cold as fuck, homie. Cold as hell.
Yeah.
We're in R&R, and they escort us to the building instead of driving us in the van, homie, at like around late at night, right? And it's cold, and you got those, you know, the same jumpsuits that they give you in YA with your little chanclas and just your boxers and your t-shirt under, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They got us walking in the cold. All I hear is just chains rattling and shit and teeth and shit, you know?
Yeah.
And we're walking to the buildings, and you kind of, you know, people start getting separated, and me and a homie from Dogtown walk into building 1, and they walk in, they escorting him into the pod or the cell block that he's in, the section that he's gonna be celled up in, and they also escort me in there with him as well, right? And as soon as we walk in, one of the doors is taped up with that yellow fucking police tape, right?
The crime tape and shit.
And like, what the fuck happened? And the CO just kind of tells it like, oh yeah, fucking 2 people got drunk the other day for the Super Bowl, and one Sally killed the other one, stuffed him under the bed, and didn't invite him into account time.
God damn.
I was like, holy shit. Like, that's when I realized I'm in prison. And then, but it was also like, I was like, it was kind of, nerve-wracking, right? But at the same time, the homie that I was with, he walks into a cell with one of the homies that I was with in juvenile hall.
Yeah.
Right? So that kind of was reassuring, like, oh, I know the homie. That what's up, homie? Oh, what's up, fucking turtle? Fucking the homie's over there, the homie's over there, the homie's over there. There was about like maybe about like 8 of us from juvenile hall that we all knew each other that were right there, you know?
Yeah.
All of us got thrown away with 15, 20, 35 to life and shit, you know? But
man.
Bam, I go to my next pot, I go to my cell, and it's the homie that was with me on the tier in LA County Jail. And that's the homie that was like 14 years old when he got busted, but now at that time he was 17, you know? And I pull up like, what's up, fool? And, you know, but that was, I think, like seeing the tape was like, oh shit, that was shocking, right? And then, but then seeing the homies was kind of like, okay, I'm good, homie, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, and once I came out to yard, you know, a few of the homies, they knew my crimies and shit, right? So like, oh, yeah, we know who your crimies are and shit, you know? So like, just kind of that right there, because you already know, you hit the yard, people really make on you.
Yeah.
Who's this fool and shit, you know what I'm saying? And like, oh, that's the homie and shit, like he's crimies with so-and-so, and you know, with, so yeah.
Dope. So you get there, you got people you're familiar with, but I know your surroundings are kind of unfamiliar, right? So what's going through your mind? Are you nervous? Are you like shit? Like, are you pumped or like? And then especially because you said you've been on there was a lot of lockdown. How are you dealing with that too?
That was so first getting there, you know, after I come out to yard, my neighbor who was from East LA, from Aliso Village, his family was from my barrio.
All right.
I mean, and not only was his family from my barrio, but his sobrina lived at my house. You know what I mean?
Oh shit.
And with my sister took her in because, like, you know, she was whatever family issues at home, and like she needs somewhere to stay. Like, yo, and our house was always had been there like back in the days, right? Like, yo, you don't got somewhere to stay, kind of fool.
Yeah,
you know I mean?
Yeah.
Even if you can't stay with us, you got somewhere to eat and shit. You got somewhere to shower.
Yeah.
And so she was staying at with my familia. And so once he found that, I was like, oh, I got you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, you know, took me into the kind of under the eyeline shade and kind of introduced me to everybody. And you know, and then after that, there was a homie, you know, good ass fucking homie. That was a homie, foolish boy from Baker's, man. He ended up moving me into a cell, and he pulled up when he was 18. And it was one of my older homies from back in the days who took him under the wing. You know,
full circle.
Yeah, you know, and like, you know what I mean? I'm your homie fucking, you know, that was a homie right there, took him under the wing, he fucking, you know, schooled me. So, you know, Kyle pa and shit, you know, and we lasted for about like 2.5 years. So anytime you last with somebody for like more than a year, though, it must be good and shit, you know? Because After a while, motherfuckers start getting on your nerves and shit.
Yeah, you don't like the way they fucking do certain things and fucking
Yeah. You got to first that pedal, homie. Go to the toilet. No. But the lockdowns, some of them were hard on me, and some of them were, my the first 3 lockdowns were like just 30 days. Somebody got hit, boom, 30-day lockdown. We come out. But the fucked up thing was that all of those first three lockdowns, homie, they all happened when I was in line to get my canteen, dog.
Ah, fuck.
That shit used to suck, bro. You know what I mean? 3 times the last time I was like right in the back. Homie, I was right in the back about to get my bag.
Yeah.
And then they yard down, and I fuck, I hope it's not the homie, hope it's not the homie, hope it's not the homie. And here comes this dude all lumped up and shit. And then there comes 3 homies behind them. I'm like, fuck, man. And then but yeah, man, the lockdown.
That's kind of like a YTS where in YTS they do it basically based on unit, right? But what sucks is if a unit kicks off, they stop the fucking canteen like over there. So it's like there's been times where like I was in the room chilling. I'm fucking starving. Like, god damn, man, you just need to hurry up and get to me. And it's like it'll reset and then it'll kick off again. So I know how that feels. Like you get fucking hungry, got nothing to eat, and you better wake up on time to get your motherfucking food.
Yeah, bro. So there was a lot of lockdowns. The time that I was on Sea Yard in High Desert from 98 to like 2000, the summer of 2000, I'm gonna say we probably did at least a year on lockdown.
Damn.
Nah, more than a year. Actually, more than a year, because we did a lockdown for 9 months with the Gabachos, and then there was one lockdown where we did 3 months because 3 dudes got hit the same day, like simultaneously at the same time, 3 different spots.
Damn.
And they locked it down for 3 months for that one. So that's a year, and then there were like 4 other lockdowns for a month each. So yeah, a little bit more than a year, dog.
Damn, and that's right at the beginning of your stay there.
Yeah. So my mom, like I'm trying to explain to my mom, like, Mom, we're on lockdown, and she thinking like, fuck, this dude's fucking getting in trouble. But like, it has nothing to do with me though. Nothing to do with me. You know what I mean?
And are you thinking at that time like that's how prison is? Like that's how all prisons are? Like because that's your first experience with it, or did you hear like there's some spots that are like chill and shit?
But believe it or not, homie, I actually kind of knew about prison programming before going to prison, dog. Like my homies would tell me, if you're gonna go to prison, dog, either fucking go to the level 4s or shoot, homie, or don't go to prison at all, dog, because you're gonna run into like just kind of throwing shit in my head. Like if you go to level 1, dog, you ain't shit, fool,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But it's just these are my homies that getting out of the shoe and shit, right? They come out, you know how that goes, right?
Yeah.
But then you got homies that are on level 1, like shit, I'm just kidding and getting fucking high. Fuck all that shit.
Yeah.
All you motherfuckers want to be stabbing each other while we just programming and shit,
Oh yeah, you got fucking.
But a lot of times though, you realize that that's what happened, because when I was in High Desert, the yard that I was on, we would program a lot more than the other yard on Sea Yard. But we were both Sea Yard, but it was the lower and the upper yard. The upper yard was always on lockdown because of fellow with the Norteños and the homies, right?
Yeah.
Always on lockdown. Always on lockdown. And the homies on the lower yard, we would program. And there'd be times we'd be out there for like 3 months, and the homies on the upper yard, man, fuck them about to this fucking programmers over there. Like, no, what the fuck? Because you on lockdown, you want us to go on lockdown también? Like,
yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
And how long did you stay there in High Desert?
98 all the way till the summer. Wait a minute. 2004, May of 2004, May or April 2004. So almost like 7 years.
Damn.
Probably. Yeah, homie, it's hard to get out of that place, homie. It was hard. Like, so I did 2.5 years in height on the 4 yard. Thinking I was gonna go to level 3 somewhere else. I was up for Ironwood, but they sent me to the level 3 in High Desert. I pull up there, and I just something had to get handled with. Go to I was there for like 9 months. It was cool, bro. I love that place, bro. Like we had night yard and shit. Yeah. We had night yard, and we would take our fucking boom. I used to have a Panasonic boombox with the CD player. Man, we'd be out there just posted up, dog, just chilling and shit. Sneak a little wine out there and shit, and just kick it,
Yeah.
But situation happened. I went to the hole for 9 months, and then got kicked back out to the level 4 to facility to the D yard this time.
Yeah.
It was cool too. We were just chilling. The homies were just chilling, programming and shit, lasted for like a year and a half, 2 years, and then I ended up getting validated. They confidential informant kicked off an investigation on me and like 4 or 5 other homies, and most of us ended up getting validated as prison gang associates.
Damn, that sucks. And I heard a lot of the times they didn't really need much to even like do that. Like it's not a real like big time like where there's any kind of a due process or any kind of representation or anything like that. Like you don't have like, or do you? Let me ask that. Did you have any kind of representation to fight against that?
No, no, not at all. Not at all. What happened was, so first they kick off the investigation because of a confidential informant, right?
Mm.
Some dude, I know who it is though. Some dude who was up for like 4 or 5 days, fucking tweaked the fuck out.
Damn.
And then, you know, he starts thinking everybody's after him, but ain't nobody even fucking worried about this dude and shit, you know?
Yeah.
But that's usually what happens, right? People that get a high on that shit think they're like, you know, everybody's after them, but like it's really just your own conscience, bro. You know, and he ended up locking it up, you know. So that's kind of what that's like the first thing that they need, right? To initiate the investigation.
Yeah.
Then they put their investigation, they raided my house just like, you know, at 4 a.m, took me out just in my boxers, put me in the shower and shit. It's just like being like on the street when the SWAT raids your house and shit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So they take all my stuff, you know, mostly like all my paperwork and shit, right? All my paperwork. So they leave all your hygiene and stuff like that and your tapes and whatever, CD players. But they took all the paperwork stuff and then 2-3 weeks later, they gave my stuff back. About 2-3 weeks later, they tell me to go to the program office and they tell me that I'm being validated. And the thing that they're using against me, bro, is just some fucking bullshit, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm not sure if you ever heard of a calendar called Road Gents.
No, I never heard of it.
Road Gents calendars. I don't know. They saw them in the Swami, right? Like Santa Fe Spring Swami, and you know, and my sister and my mom used to buy them for me. And it turns out Road Gents calendars was put together by some gente out here with drawings from camaradas up in the Bay.
Oh shit!
Right? So people were donating drawings from the Bay to I don't know, to this organization, and they were putting calendars together, right? Like a 12-month calendar, and selling them, you know, and you know, it's all cultura. You mean like, you know, whether it's indigenous culture, you know, Mexican revolutionary iconography or symbols, or just even like that Chicano aesthetic, right? You know, the bombs and veterano with the veterana, whatever, you know what I mean? So I used to collect, like anything to do with drawings, I would collect, even though I wasn't an artist, I used to love collecting things that could be potentially used as patterns.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's always good to have that because, like, you know, especially when someone that pulls up that's an artist, be like, yo, check these out. You mean like, you know, go ahead, have at it. You know, you can use whatever you want. And I was always that type of dude. I was always very resourceful, where I always had things even though they weren't meant for me. Like I did have in case somebody else needed it, right?
Yeah.
But so they used that calendar, right? Because it has people's names on there.
Ah, man.
Right? So you know how every artist, homie, signs their name, homie. So it had, you know, a homie from Dog Patch, a homie from neighborhood Norwalk, and these are all people that are labeled. And so like, oh, because of that, you're connected to them.
Damn.
But there's no actual connection though, right? It's just me having a mind, you know. So they use that. They use a newsletter from an organization called the Mexicano Chicano Prison Project, which is an organization in San Diego, in Southeast San Diego. The Mexicano Chicano Prison Project is an organization that's geared towards abolishing prisons, right? They don't believe that prison should exist, right? And so because of that, they could be deemed a threat, right?
Like a radical group or something.
Yeah. So their symbol or their logo is the Mexican flag. CDCR, the institutional gang investigator, deems the Mexican flag as the gang symbol.
Damn.
So because I have the Mexican flag on this newsletter, it's not something that I drew, right? It's not something that I produced, something that was given to me that CDCR are allowed to come in. And now they want to use it against me because of that Mexican flag. It's a gang symbol. Now I'm labeled as an associate. That's another reason.
That's a trip because like with that, right? Just like it's like having cultural pride, right? Like let's say you have a picture of Zapata and a Mexican flag, right? Like that's enough for them to say, like, this guy is embracing his culture. Like, we got to get him out of here. Like that's fucked up, man. Like that's like they're really
Right.
trying to stomp out any kind of pride or any kind of self-respect you have for yourself, so they could like break you. It's just that's some fucked up shit, man.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, and so what it does is it criminalizes your cultural and political identity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your cultura and your political thoughts become subject to criminalization, where they can place you in solitary confinement for an indeterminate time, right? And that
Yeah,
was at one point. At one point, they could hold you in the shoe, and we had homies that had been in the shoe for at least 40 years, right? You
yeah,
know, slammed down, not in Pelican Bay, because Pelican Bay hasn't existed that long, but they were slammed down in other places like San Quentin, the Adjustment Center, or in Tehachapi, or in Corcoran. But throughout that whole period, locked down for at least 40 years, right? And I know people like that, right?
damn,
But so even for Black people, right? If you're reading Malcolm X, if you're reading Assata Shakur, if you're reading anything to do with the Black Panther movement, like that's criminalization, right? So they're criminalizing your political and cultural identity, right? And
yeah,
so what that happens is that a lot of times, you know, you could be in general population and tell one of the homies like, hey, you guys want to learn some Nahuatl? Let's do a study group. Like, man, fuck that shit. I'm not trying to go to the shoot.
yeah, yeah,
So then you reject, you know, your where you come from. You reject your pasado, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I like to Google shit, right? So one time I Googled different things about Nawa, and I came out to this website called like Police Magazine or something, Police Magazine, and they said that basically saying that Nawa and Swahili were criminal languages.
Right.
And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I was just like, what the fuck is that? Like, but that's the way they view it. That's fucked up, man.
And people that don't know, right? And people that are subject to those types of ideas are going to perpetuate that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
and you pass that shit on to your kids. I mean,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Damn. So they slam you down. They validate you. And how long do you stay in the shoe?
So in 2003, when I got slammed down, I had about 7 more years to go, or 8 more
Damn.
years to go. Yeah. So, but you know, even though like how I said earlier, right? Like before even going to prison, I already knew what prisons to go to, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember one of my homies telling me before even going to prison in 1995, like, Danny, if you go to a level 4 and you go to Tehachapi, you got 90 days to be there. You know, like people were already lacing me up about like places that I can go to and shit, right?
Yeah.
So for me, like I remember one of my homies that got busted in 95, one of my boys and shit, and I, you know, first time talking on the phone when he just got busted, he's in juvenile hall starting to fight his fitness, and he's like, Danny, I'm gonna fucking see you in prison, dog. And like, fuck that, I'm gonna see you in the shoe, dog. We're gonna be in Pelican Bay. We're gonna be up there with the homie. We have a homeboy who he had been down for a long time, man. Indio from Norwalk. And he'd been down since 78, slammed down probably about like 30 years in the shoe, in the hole, right?
Yeah. So that's before you were even born.
Yeah, bro. And well, he's finally out, bro. He's finally out. He was a lifer.
Damn.
Finally out. He's out here doing good and shit, you know? And so for us, like as kids, we never knew him.
Yeah.
But we would hear about him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And for us, we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna be up there in the bay with the homie and shit, you know? And sure enough, he was the type of person like, don't fucking come up here, stay the hell out of the street.
Yeah, fuck
You know? But yeah, so I kind of had that mindset, you know what I mean? So when I got slammed down, like there was a part of me that was like, hey, I'm finally going to the bay. I'm going to the bay for something I don't want to go to the bay for, being validated. I'd rather go up there for something a little bit more, you know, quote unquote glorious, right?
Yeah.
But fuck it, I'm going to the bay and shit, you know? And but it was, you know, it started a process, bro. Like it started a process, especially like when once I got slammed down, like I'm literally in the cage. I just got taken out of my GP cell. I'm put in the cage, and I'm in that cage before they even put me in the hole, right? In my cell, in the hole. I'm already thinking, all right, Danny, you got fucking 7 or 8 more years, dog. You ain't gonna catch no more time, because you ain't gonna hurt nobody unless you fucking stab yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you ain't gonna hurt nobody. You're gonna be in a cell by yourself, unless it's a situation where you end up selling with somebody that you might have, that's
Yeah.
about it. But other than that, like you're gonna be in your cell and you're gonna go home, bro. So you for sure you're going home, and just kind of like asking myself, well, what do I want to do? What do I want to do when I go home?
Yeah.
In that moment, and to be honest with you, the response to that was, I'm gonna be a smarter criminal.
Damn.
In that moment, that was the response.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be a smarter criminal. I mean, and really learn how to fucking work this game and shit,
Yeah. So how
And
old are you at that point? About 24?
yeah, about 23, 24. Yeah.
20. You're still relatively young. So yeah, that's still you still have that young man mentality and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean, so that was like kind of like how I was thinking. That was my thought process in that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was even reading that one book, The 48 Laws of Power. That was like my Bible.
All right. All right.
That was my, I'm in the whole chilling and like just kind of all along the way though, right? Even when I first get busted or even before I get busted, I believe that people have always planted seeds in my head, right? But the thing is that I never watered those seeds.
Yeah.
I always focus more on the negative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, but there was people throughout my life, older homies, just regular folks like, Danny, you're a fucking smart ass dude, bro. Like, think about doing something else. And like, nah, this is what I'm gonna do. This is who I am and shit. I'm committed to this.
Yeah.
And and I knew I made that commitment at a young age, right? That I was, this is what my life is gonna be. And so once in the whole, I just kind of like really start thinking about a lot more deeply about some of those conversations that I'm having in that moment, right?
Yeah.
But also reflecting back on conversations that I've had in the past with other people.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember when I was in the hole, one of my cellies was from Casablanca. I forgot his plaquiazo, man. And I wish I remember, man. But he ended up catching life.
Damn.
Before catching life, he was a student at UC Riverside.
Oh shit.
You know what I mean? And it was one of those situations where his whole family's from the barrio. Casablanca, it's an old barrio and shit, right? And he was at a party, wrong place, wrong time. Somebody got shot, somebody got killed. And, we know your whole family. We're going to fucking take you in.
Yeah, that's fucked up, man.
I mean, like, homies from the neighborhood and shit, you know what I mean? Like, even by default at that point, right? Because your whole family's from the barrio.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he ended up getting life. But I remember he was my cellie for about maybe a couple of weeks before I got transferred to Tehachapi Shu.
Yeah.
And I just seen the way he used to study. And like, dude, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, he was like a studious ass fucking dude and shit, right? He not only was he reading a book, because I was like, I'm reading a book too. But then I just realized like that was a very passive way of learning.
Yeah.
He had a book and he had a notebook. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Taking notes on that shit. Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Oh, okay. And so that kind of like planted a seed in me, right? Like, okay, go to Tehachapi. I go to Tehachapi Shu in 2004, and I'm there for a year. At that time, I'm still thinking about the streets. You know what I mean? I'm still thinking about the streets. I got a couple homies out here that are out here making money and shit. So like, I want to jump in that shit. And but at the same time, it's like it's still kind of having those conversations, those internal conversations, right? And they don't really get a lot more deeper. They get a lot more deeper once I make my way to the Bay. Once I make my way to the Bay, is now I'm around people that are willing to have those conversations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like it wasn't like that in general population. It wasn't like that in the whole or in Tehachapi, where like people are still there just kind of like in Tehachapi Shu, where like a lot of people were just coming in and out. People hadn't been there for like fucking generations, right? You go to the Bay, you run into dudes that have been there for fucking in that fucking place in 1989 when they're first built.
Yeah, they opened that shit.
And they had a lot of time to process. You know what I mean? And so it was there, homie, that even though that place is not created for that, it's not created for me to go in there and grow as a human being, right? Pelican Bay Shu, solitary confinement, make no doubt about it, was created to destroy you mentally, physically, and spiritually, homie.
Yeah.
Like they tell you that when you first pull up.
They
Like the
want
only
to dehumanize you.
yeah, the only way you're gonna get out of here is if you fucking die, you parole, or you debrief. And that's debriefing, you have to snitch, right? You literally
Yeah.
breaking it down to get out of there. And in order to do that, get out of there, when you debrief, you have to put somebody else in that cell.
Damn.
Pretty much, right? Like that's what you're
Yeah.
doing. You know what I mean? Like in order for me to get out of this cell, I gotta put somebody else in here. And I realized that early on, bro. As soon as I got to the shoe, like that whole thing about like you go to committee, like you want to debrief, like nah. And then you start, again having conversations with myself, like why do they keep debriefing? Like what is that whole purpose of that? And that's really to break you down, bro.
Yeah.
But it serves no purpose. It serves no purpose because what happens, you know what I mean? Like for me, like when I thought about that, like I can't do that shit. I'm going home. I'm going back to my barrio. I got nowhere else to go. You know what I mean? I still got to show my face.
Yeah.
So I for me, CDCR uses that, homie, to constantly create more conflict.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Like when
it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because they don't want
when people come home.
Yeah.
People come home. People don't forget, homie.
Yeah.
Like, fool, you put me in fucking solitary confinement because you snitched on me because you couldn't take it in there. So now I ended up going in there for 10 years. Like I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah. What I always tell people is that if you look at the people advocating for longer sentencing and being harsher on crimes, one of the main people in the state of California, or organizations, I should say, is CCPOA, California Correctional Police Officer Association. You mean it? So it's to their benefit. It's job security to have more of us going in there. Yeah,
it's especially much more when there's riots and stabbings and shit. And so that's why one of the reasons they decided to do the integrated yard.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the integrated yard?
Is where they basically put everybody, like, the cats that
SNYs,
aren't supposed to be there. Yeah. They put them with the people that they left from in the first place.
Well, one of the reasons, bro, that is retaliation, bro. That's plain and simple, is retaliation for what happened with the California prison hunger strike at Pelican Bay Shoe, when our gente, right, from Southern California, from Northern California, blacks, whites, people that had been in the shoe in Pelican Bay for lockdown for generations, came together, right, and created the Short Corridor Collective, right? This was a collective made up of different races and geographic groups in California that had been at each other's throats for generations, right? For years, right?
Yeah.
We came together, homie, and said, you know what? Let's put this shit an end to this. Let's come together and organize to put an end to long-term solitary confinement, because the way they keep locking us up and throwing us away in these places is unjust, right? And it's a crime against humanity, right? And people are being placed there for, like me, right? For just having drawings on my cultura, having literature on my cultura. And so people came together and they organized 3 different hunger strikes from 2011 to 2013. In 2015, they settled, the California Department of Corrections settled a lawsuit to no longer hold people in solitary confinement for more than 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. Even though that's still a long ass time.
A long ass fucking time. Yeah.
It was, you could say it was a victory compared to the way people were being held in there for 20, 30, 40 years. Right?
And it gives you another starting point to fight again. You know what I mean? Rather than saying, nah, we're not going to take that 5 years. We don't want anything. Fuck it. We're not going to give you anything then. I mean, at least here you got 5 years. And now people could say, let's fight against this 5 years rather than fighting against indeterminate.
Exactly. Right. And so when that happened, bro, like people that had been in the shoot for 20, 30 years were getting kicked out. People that we never thought were going to see the line again, homie, or even the streets, were getting kicked out, excuse me. And what happened, people thought that, all right, they're going to start all stabbing each other. Homie, all these level 4 yards, homie, everybody's programming.
Yeah.
Kicking, chilling. Up in Folsom, I got a camarada, homie, that has a reading group between homies and norteños.
Mm-hmm.
They have a Chicano studies reading group, and they're reading Chicano studies literature. You know what I mean? And so, you know, well, guess what? People are not stabbing each other. They're not fucking rioting. So if there's no violence on the yard, you don't really need this whole overbloated prison budget.
Yeah, especially the militarization aspect of it.
Exactly, bro. And so now you got this integrated yard bullshit where people are now, you know, because at the end of the day, some of these dudes that went PC and SNY, I mean, they might have went SNY, but there's some of them are still some crazy motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful, you know, and so shit's pop, you know, I think they have put a stop to it, to the integrated yard, but it was causing a lot of conflict. I mean, we're you know, the violence, quote unquote, was kind of skyrocketing, but it was manufactured though.
Yeah.
It was manufactured because CDCR was putting these people when they could just kept everybody in their own separate general population.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like it's a problem that they created too, because they didn't need to go after people so aggressively to try to get them to debrief. And then once they do, then it's like, oh well, you guys, they're doing it to anybody, right? Like these motherfuckers do not need to be over there, like with these other cats that probably do need that kind of protection, right? These, like, in their eyes, you mean, so fucking so you put these cats over there, they're too aggressive, too rough over there, so it's like, oh, they shouldn't be over here, let's put it back in GP. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why'd you put them over there in the first place?
Yeah, so it's you know, it's that, so that aspect of, like, you know, how violence kind of recreates itself, right? It's a lot of times it's just manufactured by the state, you know what I mean?
Damn, yeah, it's a trip. So when did you start, like, thinking, I know you started touching on it when you started thinking like you needed to do something else? Like, when did you get to that point where it's like, I need to figure something out non-criminally, so when I get out, like, fucking I can have a different life? Like, when did those thoughts start really, like, growing in your head?
Definitely when I was in the shoe, right? And I would say that it wasn't just one specific thing, right? It wasn't just like, you know, one day I just opened the Bible and like, oh my God, you know, I found the answer. It wasn't that. Like, I'm not even a religious person. I consider myself, I don't put labels on myself, but I guess you could say I'm atheist, right?
Yeah,
but
I am too.
So you know, I remember a conversation with a homie from Big Hazard, the homie Smokey from Big Hazard in the shoe, and he was in another pod, you know, and we were on the yard and we were talking through the wall, right? And I had just met him. And that definitely planted a seed in me, right? To like I said, a lot of these seeds have been planted. But that, right in that moment, right, that what he told me right in that specific moment really made me start thinking, right? And I remember we had just met.
Yeah.
He comes out, we introduce each other, you know, hey, Choro from Norwalk, Smokey from Hazard, mucho gusto. Like, where you coming from? Oh, I'm coming from Tehachapi. Who's over there? You know, this and that, you know, and like, you know, hey, when you go home, like, you know, oh, you know, he has all day and shit, right? I go, oh, I go home in 5 years or 2010. And he goes, so what are you doing to prepare? He goes, no. He asked me, what are you gonna do when you get out? He goes, not come back. I go, okay, well, what are you doing to preparing? He goes, I don't know, I'll figure it out. He goes, fool, if you don't fucking start planning now, dog, you're gonna come back, homie.
Yeah.
And that was like, I was 5 years to the house, right? Yeah. You gotta start your 5-year plan, homie. And that kind of like, you know, oh, okay, well, what can I do here? You know what I mean? I got a lot into the books. And I even started doing the same thing that the homie from Casablanca was doing. Like, I got my own little notebook, started taking notes and shit. There was another person that I was having conversations with, that I would talk to when I would come out to yard. And this individual, he really put me up in terms of like different literature. One day he asked me, hey, what do you like to read? And I told him I like to read books with facts and you know, like give out accurate information about history or whatever, right? Like history books. Yeah. And he goes like, have you ever tried novels? And you know, like, fuck that shit. That's fake. I don't be reading no Dean Koontz and none of that. I'm done with that. He goes, no. Try this book, try that book, you know. And he recommended a couple books, homie. And one of them was a book that was written by a French philosopher, like in the 17th century or 18th century, Candide or Voltaire. He told me, read Candide by Voltaire. Yeah. And there was a reason why he told me to read that book, right? That book, at that point, I was also studying a lot about Latin American history, Mexican history, and how what we would call first world countries, like European countries and the United States. I was reading books about how these countries would exploit the global South, right? Like, which, you know, Mexico, countries down, you know, south of the equator, you know, or south, Mexico, South America, Latin America, Africa, Asia.
Yeah.
But primarily focusing mostly on Latin America, how the global North exploited the global South. And so I was reading books about how corporations currently corporations, in the United States, in Europe, are exploiting people in Latin America by creating sweatshops and all that. And when I was telling them, like, that's the thing that I'm reading, goes, oh, read this book. And it was a small little book. And while I'm reading the book, it's literally talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
That's happening 200 years ago, about how people are being kidnapped from Africa, taken to the Americas, being put in plantations, indigenous people being put in plantations, being forced to work in cotton fields, sugar fields, the gold mines, and they not doing their work, but getting their hands chopped off and shit like that, right? And like, I'm like, holy shit, like, this is a cycle.
Yeah.
It's a cycle. You know what I mean? And so that kind of really had me also thinking more about cycles in my own personal life.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And how, I come from a community where we're constantly recreating this cycle. You know what I mean? Like, I found out that one of my earliest homies to go to prison was in 1960.
Damn.
So people from my barrio have been going to prison at least in the 1960s. 1960 to be exact. You know what I mean? One of my older homies was in, I think, St. Quentin or Folsom back in the 1960s, right? And so, and I think about even him and his family. He has a big ass family who that cycle recreated itself in his family even till this day, right? And so I realized that these cycles are not just divinely ordained and shit, right? Because I've been conditioned to think that.
Yeah.
I've been conditioned for a long time to think like I was a bad person and that it's all my fault. And then you start thinking like, nah, fuck that. Shit's been set up this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shit's been set up this way.
It's like that book. I don't know if you ever read that book. It's a pretty popular book, The Four Agreements, where they say if you put like a label on a child, he'll start to embrace everything that comes with that label. If you say he's a bad child, he'll start to adapt those characteristics that come with being a bad child and shit. And you're just that's how you grow. That's how you see yourself.
And we have systems that'll not just even in our own family, right? We kind of reproduce those things, right? Like how many times have my mom told me shit that like, whoa, like you're a bad kid or whatever. But even like school systems, police systems, like getting pulled over at 8 years old. I got pulled over at 8 years old the first time I got taken in. You know what I mean? And being told like, yo, we're gonna prepare you for your future.
Damn.
You know what I mean? And so I start thinking about like having those questions in there, right? And also, like I said, it was a variety of different things that kind of really played a role in me making those decisions to do something else. That conversation with the homie in that moment, for sure definitely played a role. But also looking back, right? Like I said, like I would look back, right? And thinking about the relationship with my mom and the shit that I put it through, thinking about my little brother and my nephew who are now, when I got to the shoe, they're like 11 and 12. My nephew was already 12 years old, already in the juvenile hall system.
Damn.
You know what I mean? By the time he's 13 years old, my little brother started writing me, maybe about 3 years to the house. He started writing me, we started developing a relationship. And you can already tell that he's kind of getting into that mindset of like wanting to be in the streets, right?
Yeah.
When we first started, the first year when we first started writing, it was all about, oh, bro, I'm a boxer, bro. Like I'm in boxing, I'm, this and that. He loved boxing, bro. Homie got hand.
Yeah.
And then it kind of went into the rapping, like, oh, I want to get into rapping and shit. And like, cool. And I'm always trying to encourage that, got him a subscription to Double XL and all that.
Yeah.
And then by the third year, he's writing me like, bro, I can't wait till you get out. When you get out, we're going to be out here running the streets. We're going to take over. And like, nah, bro, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. How does that make you feel at that point? Because like he has this vision of who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have no way to really show him something else at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. And for me, I made the decision at a certain point in my life in prison that I was okay living life being broke.
Okay.
In terms of like not having money, because I used to be about the money, homie. That was my thing. I used to fucking love chasing money, and I was more addicted to that than to anything else, right?
Yeah.
And I think about my activities that I engaged in was always either dope dealing first, gang banging, and then fucking robbing people, you
Yeah.
know? And most of the robbing people were just robbing drug dealers and shit, right? But the money thing was always like, you know, like I always needed to have nice things and shit. And my homies around me, whoever was around me, you had to also be dressed nice and shit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But once I realized like I'm okay with, you know, just living life with what I have, that definitely played a significant role in me no longer wanting to be engaged in that activity of fucking chasing money through selling dope or any other illicit activity, right?
Yeah.
And so once I made that decision, bro, like I knew that I had to be creative in my approach to getting my brother's attention, right? Because I knew that he was also enamored with the material things. You know what I mean? Like I came home, this dude was dressing in fucking brand new J's, and fucking every 2 weeks he's getting a fresh haircut and brand new what are those the pro clubs every week
Yeah.
and shit,
Yeah.
you know? But so I didn't have nothing to offer. You know what I mean? And the only thing I could offer was just my to him and my nephew was just my conversations, and also was to show them and role model a different example.
Yeah.
I mean, because I knew one thing that I already knew, and this is me as a youngster, thinking as a youngster, don't fucking tell me what the fuck I gotta do if you ain't gonna do it yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, like as a youngster, that was my attitude, man. Fuck you, don't tell me what I need to do. I mean, if you ain't like, I had a lot of homies that were, you know, fucking always smack back, like, hey, little homie, why y'all don't do this? Like, oh, shut the fuck up, dog. Like,
Don't be like me, little homie, kind of shit.
yeah, you mean like,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, you know, I give them the respect, but in my head, like, man, fuck you, how you fucking gonna tell me when you ain't doing nothing? But if it was a homie like that just got out of the bay and was already fucking riding around the neighborhood with the BMW, like, yeah, tell me whatever you want to tell me, I'm listening.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it was, I just had to set a different example, bro. And for me, when I came home, I really invested my time in education, even while I was in prison. You know, I didn't have my GED in SHU, so I got my GED in the SHU. After getting my GED, I enrolled in a community college program in the SHU. And then I was blessed, homie, to be around people that really fucking invested in me, homie, that really invested in me and seen in me something that I failed to see in myself for a very long time, and that was my own humanity.
Yeah. Yeah, because the state had did numbers trying to break that. You know what I mean? Trying to take that away from you.
And they did a good job, homie. They did a good job, and I think I also facilitated in that process.
Yeah.
Because I'm unaware of like the consequences of our actions and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what was the moment that made you say, I'm gonna enroll in college, like in jail at first, like because that's a huge step. That's not something a lot of people say, like, we're gonna do this. Like, what made you say, nah, that's what I'm gonna do?
There was for sure the encouragement of the folks around me, right? People around me. But I also remember when my mom wrote me a letter one time and telling me, I'll be happy with you just getting your GED. Because I told her, Mom, I'm doing my GED. And the only reason I started doing the GED was because somebody pulled up, some white dude, right? Some white dude pulled up who knew math, right?
Yeah.
And one day I heard him talking to the homie from Ontario, and he was helping him with his math problem. Who he was doing the pre-GED packet, right?
Yeah.
And you know me, fucking, hey, what are you guys talking about over there? And I'll be like, oh, I'm helping the homie with this math. Like for what? For like, oh, I'm doing my GED. You know, how can I get in on that? And like, and the Gabacho was like, oh, just tell the, you know, write the education, tell them you want to get in the GED program, and they'll send you a packet to start doing like the little packets, like the pre-test.
Yeah.
So for 9 months, bro, that dude helped me, dog, every fucking day, Monday through Friday, right after dinner, for like an hour and a half. We'll take over the tier and go over all our math problems.
Damn.
Right? And like for almost like, no, it was like for 6 months. And then for the next 3 months, I focused like on the other subjects. I did my test. I got the GED. In the process of getting the GED, me and homeboy, my tutor, right? Fucking bootleg. Cool fucking dude, bro. Cool ass fucking dude, man. He was like, in the process of helping me with my GED, he was like, hey, Danny, fucking, you want to sign up for college? But, you know, he didn't have no you know, so I go, fuck it, I'll sign up, I'll get the books, I'll have my mom pay for everything. And,
Yeah.
you know, you take the classes with me, you tutor me, because yeah, let's do it. And sure enough, you know, we signed up for classes. And what happened was, at that point, I was just trying to get my certificate of accomplishment in general business.
Yeah.
I told myself, like, all right, I got my GED, I'm gonna get the little certificate for 18 credits, which is like 6 classes. Boom, I'm gonna bounce with, I got my GED, I got a business certificate, I know how to run a business, you know?
Yeah.
And what happened, one day they decide to move everybody, or at least a large group of people in the SHU who were labeled as prison gang associates, and they were gonna separate us from all of the other people that were just doing regular SHU time.
Oh shit.
So a year before that, they had done that. They had done that with everybody that was labeled as a member.
Yeah.
Anybody that was labeled as a member, they took them and they placed them in their own section of Pelican Bay SHU, and that's where the whole thing about the short corridor collective came up, because where they were at, it was actually called the short corridor, right?
Yeah.
And so unknowingly to CDCR, they actually put everybody together without knowing that they were going to start a fucking movement to end long-term solitary confinement.
That's
so they
true.
put themselves in the ass and shit, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, they did that. They moved everybody that was labeled a member, and then the next year or year and a half, they decided to move everybody that was labeled as an associate. And I happened to be one of those people that got selected to move.
Yeah.
At that time, I didn't want to move. I was cool where I was at. I was in a place where it was I felt it was a positive environment, because you just never know. You could end up in a pod where you're like walking on eggshells because fucking nobody talks to each other.
Yeah.
And sometimes even like own homies don't talk to each other. They're fucking mad because homie burned for a cookie over a Raider game or something and shit, you know?
Yeah.
But people just, you know, won't talk to each other and shit, right? And those type of environments fucking suck, bro. Because when you're not, you know, like homies, even own homies don't talk to each other because they're mad or whatever. And I was in a place where everybody talked to each other. It was all homies, 7 homies and 1 white dude. And we all talked to each other. We all collaborated with each other. We all did, you know, spreads and shit. They moved me, and I was like, fuck, I don't want to move. But they ended up moving me. And sure enough, it was also a blessing in disguise. They put me next door to the homie, Fish from Violent Boys, who was a lifer. And this dude was fucking, he became my mentor, bro. Like, he became my mentor, helped me become a dope ass student in prison. You know, he encouraged me not to just get my certificate of accomplishment, but also to get my Associates of Arts degree.
Yeah.
Right. So he really pumped me up and gave me all the support to do that. And I was only there for about like 8 months with him. Right. And in that pod, it was homies and like 2 or 3 norteños, right? Everybody in there's labeled as an associate. Everybody in there's a lifer, except for me. Right. And then one day, and we all talk to each other. We're all cool, dog. Like, fucking everybody, right? Like homies and norteños, you know, we all, you know, talk. We play chess with each other. And one day they show an announcement on the tubo, on the TV, announcing a program for people that are in the SHU waiting to get released, that are 24 months to the house. It's a pre-release program, right? And they're in this pre-release program, they're doing like anger management classes, communication classes, just little kind of certificates, right? And I tell the homie, like, hey homie, check out channel 7. And he sees it and he goes, "Fool, sign up, huh?" Like, nah, I don't know who's over there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who's over there, dog. It might be some fucking riffraff and shit, you know?
Yeah.
And well, only one way to find out, you mean fucking send a request. I send a request, and the free staff that runs the program comes to talk to me, and he tells me, "Hey, your homeboy sends his regards. You're crying me."
Oh shit.
What, man? Yeah, he goes, "You're my homeboy fucking Slugger." He goes, "My homeboy Slugger was right there." He goes, "Yeah, he sends his regards. He says for you to sign up to go over there."
Yeah.
But when I told the homie, like, "Hey, you know, I also showed him the information packet that he gave me, and I passed it to everybody, you know, to the homies and the norteños, and everybody read it."
Yeah.
And I told the homie, like, "Hey, my crimey's over there, fool." Goes, "Then go over there." And after everybody read the information packet, like, everybody was like a unanimous decision, like, "We vote you out of here, dog. Get out of here. Go over there. You mean go over there and take advantage of that." And I'm, you know, I'm like, "Nah, fuck that, but I want to kick it with you out and shit, you know?" And like, "Nah, fool, go." So sure enough, I go and shit, and when I get there, my crimey comes down, you know, he's like the chick tender, the porter, and he tells me, like, "Hey homie, if you have a pedazo, if you have a knife on you, just flush it down the toilet, dog. Like, ain't nobody tripping here, dog. Like, we're all going home, we're all programming, like, ain't nobody here tripping, we all get along. Like
Yeah.
if they pop their door with the black or norteño, you don't got to do nada. Like we have that agreement with everybody in this pod. I mean,
Yeah.
we're all on pre-release, you know? And yeah, bro, it was like, you know,
Was that a challenge for you to embrace that, or like
nah,
no?
nah,
Okay.
homie, nah. At that point, I was already having those thoughts in my head of like, yo, we need to fucking do something to come together because
Yeah.
ultimately we're losing, bro.
Yeah.
Like we're fucking losing no matter what. If you think, oh yeah, we just killed 10 of them, we're still losing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's a losing battle because no matter what, we're all gonna end up in fucking cages, homie. And it kind of just a cycle that repeats itself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So for me, it wasn't very hard. Even when I was in general population, I was the type of person that I always talked to a lot of people. Remember I mentioned like I was kind of had like the resources.
Yeah.
I used to have this boom box that I could record tapes off of, and I used to have a collection of CDs. And so people would be like, "Hey, Danny, record this for me. Record this for me. You know, here's a tape. Record this." And I would
Yeah.
always do it for folks, whether you know blacks, Daniels, whoever. You know what I mean? Of course, you're gonna pay me, but you know, I would do that. You know. And so for me, I was always the type of person that could have those conversations with other people, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't that hard to be able to recognize people as a brother than as an enemy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a very easy transition, bro.
Dope. So you get to that unit, and how did you take the classes? You took all the classes you needed to take?
Yeah, we were in there having this very competitive type of engagement against each other, like who gets the most certificates and shit, you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I did the program, I did all the little programs in there, and really that free staff really invested in a lot of us, bro. Like he would pull us out sometimes just to kind of have like one-on-one conversations.
Yeah.
And just those conversations really meant a lot. You mean like helping me to prepare for the transition home, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, and I know you had asked like, you know, what was those things that kind of or what was that thing that kind of made me change?
Yeah.
And I, you know, it was a variety of things, right? You know, really like looking at that relationship between me and my mom and the shit that I put her through, knowing that I don't want to cause her that type of trauma and shit, knowing that I don't want my little brother to get caught up in that cycle. Also thinking about my crimey, right?
Yeah.
My crimey homie little hawk and shit, who took that 25 to life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he was supposed to take that 25 to life, but he took it. And in that moment, right, throughout that time, in the very beginning, I didn't think about it, but now years later, I'm thinking about it and like, homie took a life sentence so that I can get a second chance.
Yeah. So you could get out one day.
And what am I gonna do with that? I mean, am I gonna fucking throw it to waste, or am I gonna do something with it that's, you know, one, turn my own life around,
Mm-hmm.
but how can I also help others that are going to go through that same transition, or possibly starting that transition of going from the streets to prison and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Prevent
so
prevent that from happening.
I don't know how I was gonna do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I knew that I wanted to do something, homie, to help other people. You know what I mean? But first I had to help myself off the top. I had to help myself, you know, and so when I came home, I was blessed, homie, that my jefita and my jefito, who was still alive at the time, you know, they took me in. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they could have been like, nah, fuck that. We don't want you here no more because your little brother and your nephew are now going through the same thing. And like, we feel that you're going to probably put them through the same process, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We don't want you to influence them.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, I know. And I told me like, I'm done with this, you know what I mean? And my mom, you know, she genuinely believed it. But at the same time, my mom was the type of person that should believe anything her kids tell her. Because my
Yeah.
brother would always, my older brother who ended up passing away, he was always in and out. And every time he goes in, like, Mom, I'm going to change. And he comes back out and, you know, I don't miss more and shit, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my mom would always believe us. She would always give us the benefit of the doubt. So I came home and I told her, look, I want to pursue education. And my mom told me, like, yo, if education is what you want to do, like, go to school and you don't got to pay rent.
Oh, dope.
You don't got to pay rent and just focus on your education. At this point, I had a little brother who went to community college and he transferred to San Francisco State University.
Yeah.
He wasn't gang related. He was like just like the one of all the five of us that just kind of, you know, skated by and shit, you know?
Yeah.
But he didn't have to get involved in none of that. But it was, you know, my younger brother did and shit. He got caught up. But so I did that. You know, I came home continue my education at Cerritos College, and really try to take advantage of those opportunities that that place offered, but also not knowing what it really offered, right? And for
Yeah.
me, I was blessed that when I first came home, my homegirl came to the house, my homegirl Valerie, who's my comadre. Her daughter's my goddaughter, Davina, right? And when she came to my house, you're like, welcome home, Turtle, And I started talking like, don't call me Turtle, just call me Danny and shit,
Yeah.
I left Turtle in the shoe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I left Turtle in the shoe, and I'm just going by Danny and shit, And so she's like, ask me, so what do you plan on doing? And I go, I want to continue my education. I was going to school in there. I want to continue my education. And she's like, oh, well, I'm going to have the homegirl Bear come over here because she's at Cerritos College. And
Yeah.
so my homegirl, like within 3-4 days out, my homegirl Bear took me to campus. She helped me apply for financial aid, helped me apply for admission. I didn't really know how to use a computer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Shit.
So
That's a
she's like
trip.
standing behind me, like she made me do it. She was like, you're going to do everything, but I'm going to stand behind you. I got you. So like, kind of like guiding me and shit, and kind of walked me around campus and told me what what all the resources are, like this is EOPS, this is, this is that. And so she kind of put me on track to kind of like continue that, like go forward with what I wanted to do. And so once I, became a student, when I got out in January of 2010, I didn't start going until the summer. But in between that time, I would always go to the campus just so that I could do walk-in counseling with the counselor.
Yeah.
And just to talk to somebody and like ask questions like, yo, what can I do? I was very open about being formally incarcerated. Like, yo, I got 2 strikes. I got just 14 years. Like, what can I do? And I remember one day, as I was going to campus to do a drop-in with one of the counselors, my homeboy from my barrio was coming out.
Yeah.
Right. My homeboy, my homeboy Manuel, and he was coming out, out of the admissions, and he didn't recognize me. I recognized him. He looks the fucking same, looking like.
Yeah.
And I see him, and I walk right by him, and I go, "That's the homie Crafty." And I called out his name. I called him by his name. Hey, Manuel. And he turns around. He like, who are you? Like, it's me, Danny. And he don't know me by Danny. Like, Carlos and Gordo's brother. Like, oh, what's up? I heard you got out. And and we kind of had a conversation, like a 25, 35-minute conversation, right? And asked me, what are you doing? I go, I'm just trying to finish my AA and and get a job, fool, and I want to work with, with kids that are kind of same shit, that are kind of going through the same thing as us, or people that are getting out of prison. And I'm like, what about you? What are you doing? Go, I just got my AA degree now. I'm preparing to transfer to UC Irvine. I'm doing pre-med. I want to be a brain surgeon.
Damn.
And when he told me that, like, I was like, fuck yeah, that's what's up, dog. And like, I go, I know you as a kid. And as a kid, you were always good with animals.
Yeah.
Right? His dad was like a gallero, like, he raised roosters and shit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was good with animals. And also, one thing that I remember about the homie Crafty, he was always good at stealing cars. Like, he could hotwire a car in less than 60 seconds, right? And so when he told me he wanted to be a brain surgeon, I just started thinking about, like, yeah, you're wiring people's brains.
Yeah,
totally like you would want to be a brain surgeon. You know how to do that already.
Yeah.
You just need the training. You just need like the proper training and the proper education to be able to do that. But unfortunately, where we come from, we never had those opportunities, right? We never had those opportunities so that my homie Crafty can learn to use the talents that he has, right? The talent that he learned, whether it's helping his dad with the animals or just doing like building, like very resourceful person where you could take shit apart and put it back together, right?
Yeah.
Like, we never had those opportunities in school or in programs to be able to showcase those types of things, right? Mostly it was like detention and fucking suspensions and shit that we know and shit, So those skills that he could have developed as a kid pretty much got invested into, into the streets, right?
Yeah.
But when he told me that, right, and he just kind of broke it down, bro, like in that conversation, he could look, Danny, if you just want to get your AA, that's cool. But you can also get your bachelor's, homie. You can also get your master's. You can also get a PhD. And this is how you do it. And he gave me the blueprint, right? Like what to do at Cerritos College to take advantage of the same opportunities that he did to be able to transition from the community college to a university.
Yeah, dope.
And when he broke that shit down, and for me, it was like, I think about, we're just at a different institution.
Yeah.
This is a higher education institution, but it ain't no different than a prison institution.
Yeah.
And what my homeboy did there in that moment, is the same thing that we always do for when a new camarada drives up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like when a new homie drives up, like, homie, this is the laundry. Like, that's the homie that you talk to if you need some laundry. You see that
Yeah.
homie over there? He works in the kitchen. If you want a pound of sugar, you get at him. If you want some apples, you want something for your fucking pruno, you get at the homie that works in the kitchen. You want some extra clothes, get at the homie that works in the laundry. You want some fucking white paper, get at the homie that works in the program office. You know?
Yeah.
And like, so he should putting me up on game and telling me all the resources the same way that we would do in prison for any other camarada, right?
Dope. Hell yeah. So I want to ask, because I think this is very important for people who are unfamiliar with new settings, right? They want to change their life, but it seems so unfamiliar, so uncomfortable. How important is it to just embrace that being uncomfortable and just saying fuck it? Because I know it's for a lot of people, it's comfortable going in and out. It's comfortable being on the block. That's what you know. How important is it to say, I'm going to be comfortable with being uncomfortable?
Yeah, it's important, bro. Like, you have to learn how to embrace that, right? And live it, you know? And for me, it was easy, you know? I don't know what it was, but I was a very open person, right? And there was times where people would tell me like, yo, maybe you shouldn't say that you were in prison. Like, and my response was like, if you're uncomfortable by the fact that I was in prison, then you must live in a bubble.
Yeah.
Because we live in a country that has the highest percentage of incarcerated people in the world.
Yeah.
The
land
United
of the
States
free,
of
but
America, the land of the
25%
free.
of the prison population.
Exactly, right? And yet we only have 5% of the world's population, right? We have over 8 million people on some type of supervision, whether it's community, parole, probation, supervision. We have even much more than that, millions of people with some type of arrest or conviction history. If you can't see those numbers and visualize the numbers, then you live in a bubble, and it makes you uncomfortable because you're not used to that. I'm used to it because I lived it. And I'm going to talk about it because it's my experience.
Yeah. And
you know
embrace your history and use it as motivation, like rather than run from it or like.
And people get that mistake, because I run into other people that are also formerly incarcerated, and they try to run away from that. Like, I don't embrace it because I'm proud of this. This is my life.
Yeah.
I've learned from this. Whether positive or negative experiences in my life, those experiences were learning experiences, and I've learned from that. And I learned from that only because I now was able to develop those critical thinking skills that allow me to analyze my life experience and see it in context to a social structure, bro. And instead of this very individualistic and religious kind of mindset that I'm a bad person because I was born evil, which that is not the case, bro. I mean, so now with the critical analysis that I have, I can see my life in relation to the social institution that impacted the way I and so many others grew up.
Yeah. And that's really important, because I was one of those people when I started working. Like I tell a lot of people, I worked at Bank of America for 11 years. And when I first started there were only a few people I would tell about my past. Like for the longest time, I never told anybody what I was until I was forced to. I ended up on TV and shit. So it's like, I can't hide this shit now. And now it's a lot freer. And like, it's like you said, it really gave me an opportunity to grow, because it's like, yeah, that is my past. That's not who I am today. And I use that as motivation to push forward.
Exactly. And that's pretty much what I've been doing, the last 10 years that I've been out, bro. After, where I'm at right now in life, I'm great. I'm good, and as I transitioned from community college, I transferred to the University of California, Berkeley, right? And I was there for 3 years. And upon my arrival, everything that I did at community college, I went out there and I set out to do the same thing. I moved to Berkeley like maybe 2 weeks before even school started, only because I wanted to go to campus and start walking around and meeting all of the people that were going to be in positions to help me.
Yeah.
Right? So this is even before school started. Like, I'm already going out and staking out the joint and shit. You know what I mean? Like, day first of school, I'm breaking into this place and stealing all your shit.
Yeah.
And I was staking that place out, right? And bro, the first day of school, I end up at this place at this space called the Transfer Reentry Student Parent Center. And I'm in a back room, and there's this dude right there standing on the other end of the room, and I'm checking this fool out. And I'm like, either this fool is military or is formerly incarcerated.
Yeah.
And I kind of start edging my way closer to him. And I get close enough. He's a white dude, right? I get close enough and I see some of his faded tattoos. Go, oh, he's a white dude, but he ran with the homies.
Yeah.
Like as a kid, he ran with the homies and shit, right? You can tell he's from LA. And I just start talking to him. And within 5 minutes, bro, we both find out that we were both in Pelican Bay shoe.
Damn. And you know what the trip is like Pelican Bay shoe is looked at as like amongst jails and shit. Like it's like a prestigious place, right?
Yeah.
And Berkeley amongst universities is Ivy League, right? It looked at as a prestigious place.
It's not Ivy League, but yes, definitely, bro. It is a prestigious place, right? It's a public institution, but it is one of the highly most ranked in the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and but definitely, bro. And you know, we went also, you know, people refer to Pelican Bay as where they fucking put the worst of the worst, right?
Yeah.
So we went from like being labeled the worst of the worst to now being labeled the best of the best, right?
It's a trip.
And I think, yeah, bro. And so things just happen though. Things happen, you know, happen for a reason or whatever, right? But in that moment, what they call it, the homies or you know, the people inside are organizing for round 3 of the hunger strike.
Yeah.
So we get there, you know, Berkeley, the Bay Area, it is a place known for social activism, for social organizing, for social movements, you know, social protests. And it wasn't long enough before we got tapped to participate in the hunger strike movement on the outside, right?
Damn.
Through I met somebody on campus, a cool ass dude named Mike Bishop, who's now he's at Cornell University now. He runs a student program over there, but he was running the public service center at UC Berkeley, and through that position, he was involved in a lot of the community work that's done in the community.
Yeah.
And through that work, he would recruit students that would be interested in supporting that work.
Mm.
And when he found out that I was in Pelican Bay shoe, he's like, bro, I know, you know, can I connect you with some people that are organizing around, you know, supporting the people in Pelican Bay shoe? Like, fuck yeah, sign me up, bro. Like, sign me up and let's get to it, you know?
You know what's crazy is because you were so open about your past, they were able to use that as an asset.
Of course.
To help. You know, that's people don't understand. Like that shit could be used as an asset to help others. But go ahead, continue. My bad.
No, it was, bro. And you know, me and the homie Steven Sifra, you know, that's my brother right there, man. And he's like, yo, I'm on board with this. You know, his approach to UC Berkeley was to just fly under the radar.
Yeah.
Until he got his PhD.
Yeah.
Like he was like, I'm gonna fly under the radar. I can't let nobody know that I was in the shoe. And me, I was like, I'm gonna let everybody know I was in the shoe. Like, yeah. And so and then he kind of like, you know, like fuck it, like it's out of the bag. Let's do this. But at the same time as the hunger strike and we're organizing around that work, we also start organizing at UC Berkeley, right? Yeah. Like we start asking ourselves, like, well, shit, who else is formerly incarcerated?
Yeah.
I mean, who else might also have family members that are in prison?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who else might be maybe not formally incarcerated, but gang related?
Yeah.
I mean, just because you're not formally incarcerated, like, you know, and I try to tell people like, yo, I got homies that never been to prison, but they've been through some shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You mean they've been fucking trauma, fucking ties and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yet, but they never been to prison.
Yeah. They move a certain way, so they didn't have to. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we started organizing on campus, bro. We started organizing on campus, met some professors, staff that were very supportive. And one of our 2 professors, Professor Patricia Hilden and Professor Victoria Robinson at UC Berkeley and the Ethnic Studies Department, started a reading group for us, right? And we called it the Critical Prison Studies Reading Group.
Damn.
And I went around and recruited a bunch of people, bro. And when we went around the room, some of us were either formerly incarcerated, had family members that were incarcerated, or came from communities that were highly policed, and a lot of people from our community were incarcerated, right?
Yeah.
And, as we transitioned, you know, as we kind of showed up every week to do the reading groups, every week we would read like a different, some different literature around prisons, whether it's fiction or you know, nonfiction, or reading reports or stuff, you know, anything around prison, right, and incarceration. Mm-hmm. We also had conversations about what can we do with the human power that's in this room. Yeah. Like, what can we do besides just reading? And so we we decided to like, let's start organizing, right? Like, what can we do? So we like, let's build a space here for formerly incarcerated people, you know? And so we went from we started a student club, Underground Scholars Initiative, right? Which is this right here, bro. You know what I mean? Underground Scholars Initiative.
That's dope.
We started as a student club for formerly incarcerated people and system impacted people, meaning people that have family members that are incarcerated, right? Or come from communities that are impacted by incarceration.
Yeah.
Two of our members, homie, Wendy Pacheco, she was representing on student government. She represented the Raza community, and Valerie Jameson was the executive vice president of internal affairs.
Yeah.
Somehow, you know, they were part of our organizing efforts to establish a program for formerly incarcerated students.
Yeah.
And through their work and being involved in student government, they found a fucking grant for $135,000 that we can apply to as a student club.
Oh shit.
So we applied, got the feria, and bam, with that money, we opened up a space. We opened up a space, got computers, hired some formerly incarcerated students to work in there, you know, and really try to create an environment that's going to be welcoming to formerly incarcerated people. And not just for people that were there, but also start the recruitment process to start getting people that are in community colleges, and also even start recruiting and supporting people that want to start the transition once they come home from prison.
Mm-hmm.
You mean? And
that's dope.
We're building the prison to school pipeline, bro.
Hell yeah, that's dope, because there's a lot of people who I've interviewed that they beat the odds. Not only did you beat the odds, but you said, I'm gonna help others beat the odds, and that's real fucking dope.
And that's just who I am, bro. That's just who I am in terms of like just looking out for people, you know. And it's not something that like I put on, and it's just something I definitely say it's something that I got from my dad. If I got anything good from my dad is looking out for people.
So what I got a lot out of this interview, one thing that I think is important that's often overlooked is people make, like society, I should say, people, like there's a lot of people in society that make those who are incarcerated look like they're crazy and they want everybody to be miserable. There's that old saying, misery loves company, right? But it sounds like throughout your journey, you had a lot of homies. They were like, dog, you have a chance. You know what I mean? Yeah. There were a lot of homies that didn't want that. So, and that's something that I've also seen, because as I've never been to the joint. I went to YA and all that. But as I got out and started wanting to do better, a lot of homies were applauding my efforts. Yeah. Like, do that shit, G. I mean, like how much of a misconception do you think there is of that, where they say misery loves company? How much encouragement have you seen, like as you try to progress throughout life?
It's a lot, bro. Like I get a lot of support from a lot of people, man. Like, you know, not just homies, you know, as, you know, camaradas, but norteños, blacks, whites, you know. I met a lot of people all across the country that are also doing this type of work, right? Mm-hmm. And but in my community, in my barrio, when I first got out, you know, I'm not gonna lie, people came looking for me, thinking that, you know, I was still on that same trip, right? Thinking that I was still on that same trip, but and then what's it called? It was trying to, you know, I told him like, yo, that's not what I'm about, bro. I'm past that phase, right? I'm past that phase. Sorry, I'm past that phase in my life where I'm not doing that no more. And homies were respectful. Homies were respectful. Yeah. And there were only maybe just 2 people. Other than that, like the whole barrio were like, Turtle, get your money. Call me Danny, but I appreciate it. You know? but like, homie, I've got nothing but love, bro. Like nothing but love from the homies, nothing but love from like just people, you know, especially my homeboys' moms, homie. When I first came home, one of my dogs, who he doesn't live, he's in Mexico. His little brother, you know, looked just like him, and I thought it was him when I first seen. Like, oh, what's up, dog? Like, no, I'm his brother. Like, oh, okay. So we became friends. Yeah. I mean, like, he's a lot younger than me, but we became friends, and I would go to his house, and his mom was like, you know, she just knew I got out, and she would fucking give me the stink eye and shit. Yeah. But then when she seen I started doing good, homie, like when I graduated from Berkeley, she went all the way to that graduation. Yeah. You know, from the long ways all the way to the graduation to see me graduate. But like even like homies, a lot of my homies' moms, when, you know, as a kid, they would give me the stink eye, right? And like now, like, yo, we love you and shit, you know, and keep doing what you're doing, you know. So it's been great, you know, a lot of support from a lot of the homies and the families, you know.
Oh yeah. And
And
go ahead, my bad.
well, I was gonna say, in particular, my family, right? I think for me, you know, the impact that education has had in my family, bro, like it's not just I created those opportunities, but it's not just because of me, right?
Yeah.
That ultimately my little brother and my nephew, they made their own decisions, right?
Mhm.
But when I went to Berkeley, I moved them up there with me, right?
Mm.
They were already caught up in the system. My nephew, when he ended up moving with me in 2018, he moved in to live with me. He had just got out of the joint, like in 2017. He just got out of the joint. My little brother had beat a gun case like in 2015. You know what I mean? And but in that process, like I went to Berkeley in 2012. From 2012 to 2015, like they would go visit me off and on, they'll kick it there, but they were still in love with the streets. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they visit me for like a couple of weeks, party and shit, and then go back. They did like the party, the college atmosphere party and shit, right?
Yeah.
I would tell them, like, bro, you could do everything that you do at home. You could do it here, but without the gunplay. Like you can
Yeah.
party, there's girls, or you know, you can like chill and shit, you know, like everybody fucking smokes weed, and you're not gonna get arrested. But they, you know, they were just, you know, the streets were always calling and shit, you know what I mean? And they were always willing to answer that call.
Yeah.
But in that process, though, you mean they kind of, you know, started grasping onto things. You know what I mean? I would take my little brother to some of my classes. You know what I mean? Especially like my prison education classes. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, and it made an impact. You know, and like I said in the beginning, right? Like for a lot of the young folks, right? Like older folks, when they get out after doing so much time, they're ready to change for the most part. A lot
Yeah.
of times, younger folks, it's not just it's a lot more harder, right? Because
Yeah.
you know it's easy to fall back into that, you know, especially when all your homies are still active and shit, you know. But if you don't create opportunities to be able to put that energy to good use, then it's going to go to waste, right? And so for me, taking them to Berkeley was that opportunity to use that energy to put it into something else, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it worked, bro. Like my little brother, he's currently right now, you know, an undergraduate student at UC Santa Barbara.
Damn, it's
He
dope.
he's also one of the co-founders of Underground Scholars Initiative, right? We started our expansion work and shit, you know.
Yeah.
We went
Yeah.
from Berkeley. We went from Berkeley. Now we're at UC Berkeley, UC Davis, UC Santa Cruz, UC Santa Barbara, UCLA, UC Riverside, UC Irvine, UC San Diego, right? We got underground scholar organizations and all these universities willing to support people that are coming home from prison and jail, you know.
Oh yeah.
My nephew, he currently lives up there in the Bay también. He stayed up there. I came back down for a jale and to go to grad school, but he stayed up there and he works as a cook at the University of California, Berkeley. All his life he's been cooking, bro, since he was like 8 years old. He was
Yeah.
a cook in Salinas Valley State Prison. And he right now is pursuing an AA degree in culinary arts, and hopefully he starts applying to transfer to Cal Poly Pomona for their hospitality and restaurant business management program.
Dope. Dope. Hell yeah. So you've made an impact, dog. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because when a lot of times that's what people need. They need to see, like you said, like don't tell me to do something, show me. And that's what people
Yeah.
needed. So I appreciate hell yeah, that's dope as fuck. So let me ask right now, you're going for your you mean you're going for your masters. What does the future look like for Danny?
So right now, I just actually stopped working this week. I was working at this organization, the Campaign for College Opportunity. Shout out to everybody over there. I was there for a whole year.
Yeah.
I was reading their work, writing a report that will be coming out soon, hopefully in January, on the challenges and the opportunities that formerly incarcerated people encounter in California's public colleges and universities. Right, I'll share that once it's ready. Once it gets published,
Oh
I'll send
yeah.
it to you. You know?
Appreciate
But
that.
yeah, I had a chance to interview like 30 students all across the state, at different levels of their educational level. Like some of them just barely starting in community college, and some dudes are already getting their law degree.
Yeah.
You know, so I was doing that for the last year. Now, you know, I'm taking a year off of school, from work, and I just want to dedicate myself to my education. I feel like I never really had that opportunity to really just focus on my education. Because throughout my time in higher education, since I've been home, when I was in community college, I was just trying to figure shit out,
Yeah.
And then when I went to Berkeley, like I didn't really get a chance to be a student because I was getting pulled in so many directions with the organizing work that we were doing, either
Yeah.
on campus or with the hunger strike movement, right? So right now I just want to I'm gonna take a year off, just focus on my education. I actually want to publish a couple more articles. And ultimately, once I get my master's, I'm doing a master's in education in the social cultural analysis program. Shout out to my cohort. Ultimately, I want to be a professor at a community college, either
Oh
teaching
yeah.
Chicano studies or ethnic studies at a community college, or also running their program that supports either formerly or currently incarcerated students.
Oh yeah. That's what's up.
Yeah.
And before we wrap it up, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I definitely, want to say gracias for this opportunity, right? To
Oh,
really,
thanks.
share my life experience, and I hope that it serves as a learning session, right? Not, whether it's inspiration or whatever, cool, right? But like mostly as a way to get informed about what's possible, right?
Mhm.
Just because you've been to prison, jail, and have a record, you can continue your education. There are ways to do that, and there are organizations throughout California that are doing that, right? Colleges and universities that are supporting people that want to continue their education. There are community organizations throughout California that also do that work. Folks can always reach out to me, if I can just blast my email, JAYMURILLO at Berkeley, BERKELEY.edu. Yo, hit me up if you're interested in learning more about how to pursue your education. I can kind of guide and tell you like who might be in your local area that can give you a better hands-on, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm here for, right? I'm here to make those connections, right? And just know that it is possible, right? It is possible to break these cycles that have existed in our families and our communities for generations, and it's possible to create a new life with the support of our community. I think it
Yes,
takes
sir.
support, right? Nobody does nothing on their own, right? If I would, it would behoove me to stand here before you and say that I did this all on my own, and I can't, bro. I did this with the support of my community, whether people in prison, people on the streets, whether the negative and learning and the positive experiences, those were all experiences that I learned from and have built me into the person that I am today, right? And I think
Oh yeah.
being able to look at our lives through that critical lens will empower us to think about what we can possibly do in the future.
So, and I'm gonna put the link to your email and any other links you want me to share. We'll add them to the description below too.
All right, so then I'll just blast them to you then.
Okay, perfect, perfect.
All right, and muchas gracias, man. I appreciate the time, and hopefully, in the future we could do something. I'm down to support, bro. You have this platform here that I think it's important to share with other folks, right? And I know a bunch of other people, man, good people that have been through the same life experiences that we've had that
Yeah.
are doing great things, right? And I think the more we see that, it becomes more, because if you're just seeing me and like, okay, well, Danny did that. I'm
Yeah.
not special, bro. I'm not special. I just took advantage of the opportunities that were there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's one thing that I've learned from these interviews. The more I do, because I thought, especially with the CYA had a 90% recidivism rate, right? It was the highest in the nation. So I thought because I got out, I didn't go back like, oh shit, like what did I do right? Like, well, what the hell happened, right? But as I started interviewing people, I seen like there's a lot of us that changed, right?
Yeah.
So that's what that 90% recidivism rate doesn't show. Is that there's sometimes it takes people longer than others, but there's a lot of people that are doing amazing things now. And it's just a trip because it's like shit, like we're more than our history. You know what I mean? Like our past, I should say, not our history, but we're more than our past. And I'm glad that you decided to jump on with us today and gave us your time and shared your story because it's an inspiring one and we definitely will be in contact and if you're on board with it, we're gonna do more things together.
No doubt, bro. No doubt. I look forward to it, man. Y gracias, Domin.
Anytime. And with that said, we out. Peace.